Welcome to the Marmina Cast. Sometimes we talk about fitness, but usually we just talk smack. I'm your host, Mr. Marmina, and let's get on with the show. And an acquaintance, Lyndon. We interned together at Woodford Sports Science Consulting. He is definitely one of the most intelligent and passionate fitness professionals. Look at that, I'm talking you up, right? Fitness professionals I know. He is the hot and dangerous Lyndon Purcell. Dangerous, my bad.
Dangerous, that's where it's come from.
What is that? Explain what that even is.
Well, I get called Don, like Lyndon. No one likes the name Lyndon.
Here I'm thinking you're hot and dangerous. How good.
Well, I am, of course, dangerous. My resume is extensive in regards to the dark arts and, now semi-illegal ninja skills, but
Is that where the Ninja Turtles mug comes from?
Sorry?
Is that where the Ninja Turtles mug comes from?
Yeah, that's it. I always channel my inner Donnie. But yeah, like the Kesha song? No. There's like a bit in it and it's like, hot and dangerous if you're one of us there.
Oh! Well, you're trying to tell me that the whole time your Instagram handle is dangerous and I've been reading it as dangerous this whole time.
That's all right. You would be probably the 100th person to do that.
See? Expectation drives belief. That's incredible.
The brain is so cool.
How powerful is that?
Just how it jumps to conclusions and it's like, how do we even know if you've been reading that for years, and you've always read it that way, and it's just like, but it's not that way.
Yeah. It's like, and now I finally realized that I'm wrong.
Like how much else does our brain change that we're not aware of?
Well, it's funny, I always have discussions of pain science and that with other personal trainers, and every other personal trainer's activating a glute and stretching a hip and trying to correct people's back pain. And I'm like, that's like, I was like, I wish it was that. I wish it was that. Physios would be out of the job. You know what I mean? I talked to a physio the other day and she's like, half the time we barely know if our intervention is really doing anything. Yeah. Sometimes the natural time course for just injuries healing is just what happens. Yeah. And then we didn't really know. There's too many confounding variables to really understand. Did we actually do anything? Did said core exercise actually correct someone's something, or did they just get better?
Well, that's exactly right. And there's obviously, as you said, there's so many confounding variables. But it's just if someone at least goes to a physio, they're showing intent to do something.
Yes.
They'll listen to the physio and abstain from certain other activities. They're not going to go barbell squatting once they're seeing a physio for their knee.
Yeah, exactly right.
Like that, unless that's prescribed by the physio, of course. Barbell squat for the win.
At 170, surely with a bung knee, why not?
Max out.
You'd be right.
But at least you grab a good video at Derrimut, so.
That is good as. We'll segue. Right?
Yeah, let's do it.
And that, speaking of confounding variables and stuff, today we're going to talk all about science, because Lyndon is the director of science at JPS Health and Fitness, and he is definitely the man to speak to about utilizing. Oh, you're not? Okay. Well, what are we doing? Or understanding and practically applying science to health, fitness, personal training, whatever. So I'm going to start with this one question I've got here, and you can just generally answer it however you like. And it's just, what is the role of science in exercise and nutrition, and why should we value it as practitioners?
Yeah, I think people need to understand essentially what science is before they it's you can be told something's good, but until you understand why it's good, you won't care. It's I see this with clients all the time. It's just you've got to, say do this with your food or do that, with your exercises or this or that or whatever. And sometimes they'll take me on face value and sometimes they won't. And then 2 months later, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to start doing that thing that you told me to with my food because I just read an article and you know what I mean? And I'm
I get that all the time.
I'm glad that you're doing other research and checking up and sort of like fact checking with what we're telling you in a face-to-face space. But yeah, like it's kind of like you need to know why you care before, or why you should care before you care, I guess, if that makes sense.
I get it. Yeah.
I think when
sorry, keep going.
Go on.
If we show that we care, then they'll care more. Like,
Yeah, exactly right. Like
if we just go. Sorry, I keep going.
if it comes from a genuine place, like yeah, of course, like that's always going to have a better chance of getting through.
Because I fell into the trap when I first started of like, this is the science, these are the facts, yada yada yada. This is what you should do. But then like behavior is the biggest confounding factor ever.
Yeah.
And we as practitioners, even like scientists, can never account for behavior.
No.
Like we can try to control for all those variables. When you let someone out in the real world, or when there's no like intervention, well, how like there's just it's impossible. Like I can't even begin to describe how impossible it is. You know.
I was speaking to sorry, I'll tell this little anecdote.
No, go.
Then I'll answer the original question.
Yeah, that's all right.
I was speaking to a client last night, and she's a massive science nerd as well. So we click. But her background is in psychology, and sort of in she's late 20s, 30s now, sort of thing. And she's really just of late started gathering a massive appreciation for the more sort of like hard and fast sciences like chemistry and biology, because she's like psychology always interests me because it is so like psychology without doubt is fascinating, but she's just there's so much room for interpretation. She's just like, sometimes as a psychologist, I just want an answer. So now she's getting more into like neuroscience, because that has a more quantitative, answer to things. Like you can look at a brain scan and be like, oh, this exact activity is occurring, not like, as you said, behavior and just the way psychology presents itself is just like one person sees this, one person sees that, one person sees dangerous, another person sees dangerous. It's just
that's very true.
Right.
So like
back to go on.
Yeah. Oh, geez, I forgot what I was gonna say. No, hang on. It's coming back to me. Like that when I was at school, like I actually didn't think like I enjoyed fitness. I really liked fitness, but like I always wanted to do law or like history. Like I was ready to go to school to do law and history, something like that. And a lot of that is very subjective and perceptive. Like the history exam in year 12 they showed you like a propaganda. It was actually so good. They showed you like a propaganda image, and they were like, how did this contribute to the development of so-and-so revolution, whether it be China, America, whatever. Yeah. And we had to answer that like based on like the opinions of historians and stuff, but no one had the same answer. You know what I mean? And it was like the complexity of the answer that gave you good marks. So imagine, like speaking of perception and stuff and not having an answer, the first time we got a question like that, because my teacher was a hard ass and was like, this is the last year's exam, answer all these questions. You should have read the textbook over the holidays. And I was like, I'm fucked. But to answer, like to have to think, but that helped me with exercise, science and nutrition, because when I went to uni, like after the first 1 or 2 years, like even in, mostly second year, like it was all about the interpretation of literature. And we had to discover like the strengths and weaknesses of said literature. And then, is this generalizable to the relevant meaning population group? And if it isn't, well then, is it redundant, or can it be sort of used to make sense of whatever case we're dealing with? Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So, you are back to the original question? Yeah.
We were probably due to tangent on so many topics. We can always chat, can't we, Mikey?
We can always what, sorry?
We can always have a pretty good chat between us two.
We can, I'm expecting a 2.5 hour epic.
Be the Titanic of fitness podcasts.
You know, it's really funny. Like, we had a podcast in mind, like when we were like 2015, maybe 2016.
Yeah.
I still remember that was good. Muscle in the middle.
That
was wicked.
I could just picture the Malcolm in the Middle thing.
Oh, that was so smart. When I read that, I was like, fuck, like through my phone. I was like, that's so good. And Moose was like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, pick that shit up.
Oh man, I wish I could use this brain for productive things. a little more often. But
Use it productively all the time. What are you talking about?
all right, let's answer this question. So
All right.
I think people should understand that science isn't like, and this, I think this is why I've had some somewhat success in my role, is because I didn't care about science to start with. I wasn't one of those kids that, like I know kids who have grown up, their parents were into science, they sort of followed that natural path, they were into science, like
I'm the same.
My dad was a potato farmer, and I love telling people that because I still think it's like the greatest job that any dad can grow up with. So Dad didn't give a fuck. It's just, he didn't care about science.
My parents don't give a fuck, man. Like my dad is a butcher, so like he just farms meat, same shit. And my mum is heaps of shit. But like she's not a scientist, man. Like they're not sciencey at all,
So it's just like I know I was like, I went through high school. I was like, this is kind of why I wear shirts like this now, because I was like, I think nerds are cool. Like whereas back in high school I'd have sat more towards the back, like fucking losers answering these questions, like shit like that. Like, but then in the end they've made me look like cool. There's so many kids that I went to school with like kicking goals for themselves, and then I went and like flunked like first year uni because I just wanted to fuck around. But like eventually I realized like the complete value of science is just, all it is it's a method of observing something, trying to control variables and determine, what the outcome of that is. Like the true essence of science is trying to get as close to reality as possible. We are trying to work out how the real world actually works.
I like how you said as close, because like I said, you're never going to be, it'd be so impossible.
It's just like even the things that we are super, super certain of, you can't be like entirely sure of. Like it's just, it's all probability. Like, does gravity exist? Well, it's probably 99.999 fucking thousand million true that like, or probable that gravity
is the Earth flat?
Yeah, like there are things that are confirmed beyond reasonable doubt, without doubt. But so I guess like I kind of really fell in love with science, I guess, when I was like, okay, I want to get bigger, faster, fitter, stronger, likes on Instagram, more girls in my DMs, that kind of shit. So like, how am I going to achieve that? Why?
Because that's what working out's all about. Like practically applying science. Moral of this podcast is more ladies in the DMs.
More ladies in the DMs. So yeah, like why should we care as practitioners? Because science gives us an understanding of the way basic human adaptation works, the way certain interventions change outcomes. So it's like a hypocaloric diet means the body must relinquish stored energy and it reduces its mass over time. It's like that is extremely like proven, I guess. So it's like, okay, that's a starting point for trying to lose weight. It just like, we're trying to get this person or a client to a certain destination. It's like, if you don't use science, it's kind of like just dropping them into the ocean and being like, all right, find this point. But it's like, with science, we can narrow it down. We can at least get you on land. Then we can go, oh, that's north, that's east. Cool, you've got to sort of head in this general direction. You'll probably encounter problems of certain types along the way. And here's some rough ways to go about.
That's a really good way to put it. I love that.
Moving past them. Like there's no exact way. That's, as you said, like it's all probable, but there are certain methods that have been established to be more successful than others. And that comes down to a coach or, just that practical experience of anyone, of knowing how to apply what we are, quite sure of through science.
Cool. I love that, and you could also argue that there are we almost, like you said, there's things that are 99.99% true.
Yeah.
But, you could argue that science also gives us multiple avenues to go down to reach a similar outcome. Like if you look at like the multiple diet research out there, mechanistically, it's usually about a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
And I'm gonna say usually, but I'm gonna put a big disclaimer on that because I have my contentions about how it is a calorie deficit. You know what I mean? And then you could argue like with an increase in protein intake, you can control for satiation, and people who do increase their protein intake within a diet usually have better results.
Yeah.
Usually. And you've got to use words like that as well. But there's always like different pathways. Like you might not get on land the first time. You might have to take the long route and do like a different intervention.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the mechanism is the same. You still swim to land, or you like take a boat to land, or whatever, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and if like you're someone who is very objective and self-aware, and you can establish very quickly that this method isn't working, you essentially have teleportation ability in that.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's just like,
and sometimes
I tried the paleo approach, landed sweet fuck all bang in the middle. It's just like you do little ZIL thing, and then you're just like, cool, I'll try tracking macros in a calorie deficit. And
cool,
30 seconds later, you're way close to your target.
And without like, sometimes paleo is like okay.
Yeah.
I actually really like I spend more time. Everyone thinks like I hate on everything. Like I talk to my clients and like, what do you think of this? And they expect me to be like, fuck that shit. But I'm actually like, that's actually really smart. But just make sure that like you understand these are the mechanisms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there is nothing magical about keto, paleo, Atkins, Ornish, Weight Watchers. Like it's just all. It all just induces like you said, like it relinquishes like overall calorie intake. You know what I mean? No, other way around. You have to relinquish energy, stored energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're inducing an energy deficit.
Yeah, as you said, like I do think there is. I see two vague avenues of science, and like one is optimization, and that's the kind of the science that's aimed at Olympic athletes. It's just like timing, that sort of thing. Or the other one is efficiency. Like, how can we get more bang for our buck for the same amount of work, or something like that? So,
yeah, I think like for most people, I like a middle ground, and only because like if I go the more efficient route, like someone that doesn't have the personality type to kick ass will be a little bit too efficient and then apply themselves as probably as much as they could. Whereas if I give someone like the 1% advice, like they're like they're going to kick ass, they're Olympian, they're going to go out and spend $1,000 in supplements and kick ass in the gym every day, and then it becomes like a unhealthy sort of obsession. You know what I mean? So that's why I like a middle ground for most.
Yeah, exactly right.
Does that make sense?
I think the middle ground, that's why we're going to call it muscle in the middle. Like the middle ground,
there you go.
Usually the best approach, and very rarely answers lie at the end of any spectrum. But as you said, it's just like from the middle ground, you still have a lot of avenues to the same destination. Once you get closer and closer, the paths converge, and you are just
there's one big answer
to one particular way.
Exactly right. Like I even this morning, like I had a discussion with a client like about if it's your macros, and like that was like their sort of saving grace, and almost everyone should do it. And I was like, well, not necessarily, because it's almost unrealistic to ask someone to like track everything on a food diary. You know what I mean? Because that essentially what is like, that's what I associate myself with. That's what I associate with your macros with anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
100%. But there are obviously multiple, like everything essentially is like a flexible diet approach if you think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like provided you have that flexible mindset, like,
yeah, provided you understand that, like, no, if you eat carbs, you won't die. Like,
well, it's just like it can be flexible in any kind of way. Like, it could be, I ate 5 meals today. I've got to reduce it back to 3 tomorrow because I'm aiming for an average of 4 or something like that. Like,
and that's a flexible diet.
Just essentially means, sorry.
There can be like essentially like you were saying, it just means that like there'll be some sort of auto-regulation within the diet to facilitate adherence.
You need to deviate from the plan and just make changes based on what's happening on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly.
It's like auto-regulation within training.
Yeah, like flexible training approaches, would you say are superior to, like, would they yield better results, more adherence than like a more restricted, stringent approach to training? Like there needs to be some auto-regulation in the program. to account for like perceived exertion, fatigue. You know, again, like training is a bit like controlling variables for science because you can't account for everything.
No.
Like someone might get shit sleep, they might have a fight with their partner, they might come in and be like, man, I'm not lifting 400,000 kilos today, screw you. And I'm going to be like, cool, like deload it or we'll do some dynamic efforts. You'll still get some sort of stimulus, whether it be skill acquisition. If you're not an athlete and with reference to dynamic efforts, at least you can work on like that velocity component. So yeah, like going back to this auto-regulation and flexibility, you can have that for diet and training.
Yeah.
What a tangent.
It's just, the more I stay or the longer I stay in the fitness industry, it's just like, the more I realize it's just not being black and white with anything.
No, like, yeah. And like, it is more about than anything, just promoting consistency in some way, shape or form.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I can think of very efficient way, or not so much efficient if we're talking about you, like on a spectrum from efficiency to optimacy. Is that even a word? But like, whatever, we'll use it.
Hey, I think
like optimum. I can think of so many ways to do things like 100% and just smash it. But how many of those things are realistic?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the thing. Like,
I mean,
will to do something and the ability to do something. You know, they're somewhat parallel, but then they're not the exact same thing. Like, you know, I would love to take 80, 90 sessions a week and help as many people as I can, but it's just like, I just don't have the ability to do that.
And could you imagine taking imagine that. Jesus Christ. Like, I thought about that too. I was like, I wish I was just like booked out 24/7 and just like smashing it and working like 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. at night straight. And then I thought about it and I was like, fuck, like, am I an idiot? Like, imagine, you know, I wouldn't train, I wouldn't eat right, I would sleep like 4 hours instead of 6.
Yeah. It's,
you know,
6 is the dream. That's, that's the 12 hours of our teenage days. That's just,
when I sleep, like, it's crazy. It's crazy. I almost wanted to do the realisms of personal training episode, but we can save that for another. Because, you know, I talk to clients that, like, one thing about personal training is, like, you empower clients in fitness, and then some of them go on to become practitioners themselves.
Yeah. And
I'm at the stage now where some of them are like, I'm going to do personal training. And I'm like, do you understand, like, what you're in for? I don't think you do. Like, I love personal training, don't get me wrong, but, like, whew, you know?
I think that's why the turnover rate, you know.
Yeah, they don't get it.
It's just people. You can't just like fitness or like. No.
You've got
to be like legit a little twisted down your nutsack area. It's.
Yeah. Like I love fitness so much, right? That like sometimes I get upset about how much I like it. You know what I mean? Like I have to find other things to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you know, sometimes we're like, no, I'm not going to do anything fitness related today. Like, or, you know, like, which is freaking impossible. So, like, maybe I'm not going to do anything fitness related for the next, like, hour or so. Like, if I have, like, an hour between clients, I'm going to be like, I'm not doing anything about fitness.
Yeah.
I need to just cool it. Because then all day is about fitness. I go to bed and it's about Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that?
Because, like, Jake Peralta.
Yeah, Peralta. Yeah, good.
No, you can't beat.
So you can't.
Boyle's elite.
Boyle, Terry, man. Terry is goal physique.
Yeah. The big human.
Good stuff.
But yeah, you're exactly right. Like, like, if I have, say to be like a lazy Sunday, or have the house to myself, or like, you know, I may have had a massive stressful week at work and like, you know, you're semi on edge, you're anxious, you can't just quite unwind. And like, I'll put on like a sports physiology lecture on YouTube or something and like listen to that, and that stuff will like calm me down. Like that's what the kind of like.
See, I had to stop doing that shit. I had to stop because like I was just like.
But that's what I mean. It's just like that's how twisted you sort of.
Yeah, you gotta be a sicko.
to survive, like, and then exactly right. Like I went completely too far, and I'm sure every PT goes through this. Like, I can't imagine anyone who had a smooth sailing entry into the industry. Like, at some point you would feel burnt out, and the thing that you love the most is just controlling your life, and it's burnt out, and you just don't know what to do because you were like, in the past when I was stressed, I would turn to this.
And now
it's that they're like they've become the same thing, and you just don't know what to do. And I think that it's at that point where people just go, this is too hard, this is too much. Because like, man, like as we said, psychology is a massive component of what we do. And like you might see 12, 15, 20 clients, on a day-to-day basis, all of which bring you their own individual problems. And at the end of the day, you've had a heap of problems, lumped onto you. You've tried to provide answers. Then you clock off at 8 p.m. at night and you've still got to deal with your own problems. And like, I don't mean to say that to sort of, like I love.
No, but it's true. Like, I love it, man. Like I could deal with, and deal is a bad word, but I could see heaps of people all day. I love meeting new people and training people, like training the same people, new people. It doesn't matter. Like that's why I do it. But like once I'm done, I'm done. Like, you do have to take that time for yourself.
To have that sustainability component within your day.
Yeah. And that's why I bought The Witcher 3 and I search the shit out of it when I can. That's why I'm just like, fuck that. Like, You
need...
all right. Hey?
No, I just said you need your own mental...
Yeah, you do, So we spoke about like evidence as a whole, and obviously there's like a hierarchy of evidence, which I won't go too much into. Like I do speak about it a fair bit, and you would have spoken about it, But like when a lot of the evidence-based crowd now thinks about evidence, they only think about, like formal evidence, whether it be observational research, systematic review, which is essentially research of research, or like randomized control trials or whatever. But is formal science the only science?
Yeah.
You can reference like anecdotal evidence and stuff.
Yeah, like I think no, like to give the very sort of, short answer, no. Like it's not the only evidence, but there is each piece of evidence has a certain magnitude of use depending on how it was conducted or how it was done. Like if I was to walk into any gym and just ask the first two 20-year-olds, like, what has been the best thing for your bicep growth? Like one might go preacher curls, straight up. It's just like feel awesome, like get a massive pump. Started doing preacher curls when I was like, started training at like 15 and my biceps blew up. Like, oh, yeah, okay. And like the second 20-year-old might be like, you know what, like incline curls for me. He's like, and then he pulls out his logbook and he's got written in workouts for the last...
He's got objective data.
Yeah, like there has been a methodical way for him to tease out that detail. And I'm sure like even that's not perfect, of course not, but even anecdotal evidence has differing levels of use. So
yeah, it does have power within like statistics for said individual, but can it be generalizable? I don't know. Maybe if a lot of people, but then it would be like a report, like a survey. If a lot of people report a similar instance, then you could argue that is a generalizable contention or whatever. But for that sort of research, you need a lot of participants because, like with that's why like randomized control trials are smaller usually because like how impossible would it be to get like a bajillion people and, have them all do some sort of control or intervention. But B, they're a lot more powerful because you control for all these things within like a certain population group. And you could even argue that like maybe randomized control trials aren't meant to be as generalizable as some more less powerful research.
Yeah, I
feel like there's a trade-off. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I just think, I really don't try and draw too much. I guess like I see myself on a certain trajectory, like I'm going along on this sort of path and then like, another study comes out or this or that comes out. And a few years ago, I'd have been deviated off what I was doing by large amounts depending on, what a study said. Like I would change my practice. Not
same. I would change everything.
But I'd change a lot. But now I'm just like, all right, look, based on everything that I've learned and experienced, up until this point, I believe this to be the surest path to the truth. And if something else comes along, I factor that into my calculations and the trajectory that I'm going on. But man, like it barely changes things now. Like I think I'm still extremely open to learning without a doubt.
I am.
more confident in my approach now because I haven't allowed myself to be pulled to one extreme or the other. I have just settled on what I think I know, what I think is best based on what I've experienced and learned. And as I said, yeah, things get factored in. Just like, I think that because exercise and sports science is an applied science, there is a human component. Like, we're not just doing maths here. Everything needs to be factored in with a grain of salt.
All the time.
And
you know, and you can't be like you said, like, you're always open to learning. Like, you can't. So many people just get upset about being wrong. Like, oh, that can't be the case. But it's like, why do you give a fuck if you're wrong? Like, who cares? Like, you're just gonna learn something new. Like I had someone say, like, I have a bias towards, you know, and they stopped and I was like, bias towards what? Like, we were talking about like diets, and it was like, I'm more like the conventional diet practice, you know, I'm not like keto, I'm not like anything. Someone just needs to stick to it. You know what I mean? And I was like, I have a bias towards making sure someone stays on track.
Yeah.
That's my bias. You know what I mean? And like, a lot of the time, like, getting someone to cut out nutrient entirely is just not realistic.
Yeah. You have a bias towards not disrupting people's life.
Yeah, you know? And I really do, because I did disrupt, that's probably it, because I did disrupt like a lot of my social life when I was younger, like training and doing bro diets, and I even did like a caveman, back then it was called the caveman diet, it was in like the newspaper.
Yeah.
And our boxing gym was real big on it, you know what I mean? Like, and now it's paleolithic and it's really sciencey, and, you know,
the peer-reviewed journal of the Herald Sun, just...
What's up?
The peer-reviewed journal of the Herald Sun, just...
Yes, the ultimate journal, right? Like, that's all you need. If you read that, you know what's real funny though? Like, if you bring someone like, I don't know what it is. I try to think about it, but if someone sees something on the news, like, it's so much more believable than, hey, like, this is what actually research says. Oh, no, what do you know? It was on the news. And I'm like, yeah, but Game of Thrones is on fucking television too. Like, you know, it's all just entertainment at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Very rarely do you ever see something or someone out there just like preaching the truth. It's all about views and you know, just keeping relevant and staying relevant.
Everyone has an agenda. Like, and this is something that people even forget about scientists. Like, they can at times become dogmatic in their views and very hyper-focused on one thing or another because they have built their legacy on that. They may have been researching something for 10, 15 years, and, you know, that is what makes them within the scientific community. And it's just like, yeah, like Stu Phillips, like, he's a phenomenal protein researcher. But imagine if he would, like, you know, he was to find out, do a study one day that was just like, man, protein's not that useful. Like, and it is, and it's very well established that it is. It's like, that would be extremely hard for him to remain unbiased about.
Absolutely.
Dedicated decades of his life to studying protein, and then all of a sudden one study's like,
imagine that.
You were wrong. You've wasted your life. Like,
but it's also important to mention that it is one study, and that one study's statistical power is a lot lower than like multiple studies and meta-analysis, systematic review. However, it's still important to consider that one study, in my opinion, and like you said, factor it into like the pathway wherever you're going. If that, like you said,
it's just like it's just a small pebble in the pathway that you're trying to pave, though. That's the thing.
But it's still a pebble.
Yeah, it is.
And it's still part of it. It's just probably not as important.
You just need to keep in mind, the magnitude of significance that anything has. It's just, you know, as you said, meta-analysis, they're bigger rocks. You know, a single study, that's a pebble. If it's a single study that's done by a group with a certain agenda and, you know, they're known for doing bad research, which certainly exists.
And that exists. Like, people don't understand. Like, that is legit. All that, I'm just trying to, like, you know that, like, the what is it? Like, the autism paper? The one about, like, the...
Vaccines causing autism.
Yeah. He even come out and he was like, yeah, you know, I was a bit funny. Yeah, I fudded, whatever it is. You know, like, it's just, that stuff happens, man.
Or like Jacob Wilson's in recent times, like with the HMB stuff. Like, I'm glad, like, their group was well and truly called.
Yeah. So what happened with that at the end? Because explain to the listeners, like, what happened? Because this is a really good example.
Yeah, so basically, there's a group of researchers. It's not just a single researcher who's responsible for it, but there's a group of researchers that are probably getting quite a bit of their funding from a certain supplement company, and they published a paper that showed that HMB, which is a basically like I'm sure everyone knows branched chain amino acids. Then there's leucine, which is probably the most anabolic of those three amino acids, of those branched chain amino acids. Then HMB is like one of the metabolites that leucine can be broken down into. And so it's this small component of already a small component of.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, whilst he said leucine is anabolic, like, it's not friggin' steroids.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly right. Like, this is what the paper showed, though.
Yeah, I remember, and I was like, what the fuck?
They got these people to do DEXAs before and after a 12-week training program, and the DEXA showed that they put on more lean mass and study did, I think it was 600 milligrams of test. Like,
well, you know what that means, right? HMB is the shit.
Oh, man, it's... And unfortunately, we all fall trapped for this. Like,
yeah.
So, like, I don't think a day goes by where I don't break someone's heart. Like, you know, like just... Or
me too. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. I remember someone linked me like, it was like a thing, like, what do you think of this? And it was like a natural, right? Natural alternative to Clenbuterol. So basically, I know. I was like,
thin air, just...
Yeah, like, and for not everyone else there, like, Clenbuterol is like a very potent fat-burning agent that has like muscle retentive properties and stuff like that. It's full on. You can't buy it. Don't buy it. It's illegal. But disclaimer, so I don't get in shit. But I looked up the ingredients on examine.com because that's the shit. If you have any questions about supplements, just examine.com. And one of those, like, everything did pretty much nothing, especially with reference to fat loss. But one of them maybe improved, like, blood flow.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That was...
How good? That's a total natural alternative to Clenbuterol.
Like, the naturalistic fallacy, it's just...
It's natural, bro, though. Like,
yeah, it's just like... And so snake venom. So...
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, when I get bitten by a snake, I'm not going to go and, you know, rub my face up against the bark of some fucking gum tree. Like, I'm going to get to the hospital where they're going to give me like lab-made medicine, man-made medicine. Just chemicals, bro.
But that's not natural, man. Though, like, the chemicals are bad, bro. You can't spell chemicals without kill. I know, it's crazy.
I don't mean to get heated by like.
I do.
Stuff. And that's the thing, is because there are people that prey on the insecurities of people. And
that's an insecurity
thing.
They
do this on purpose. And then people sit there and go, oh, Lyndon, you're such a pessimist, or this or that. I'm just like, no.
I sort of am, like, in a way.
I'm just trying to convey to you that the world isn't all sunshine and rainbows. And, like, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, Dr. Phil, because, like, I'm only 24 years old. I haven't lived enough to give life advice. Yeah. But if there's anything that I'm sure of up until this point in my life, it's that people have agendas and it's not always the way you want it to be. You need to be skeptical. You need to be realistic. And
like, even if I see something that I agree with or from someone that I really respect, I'm still like, I'd really like to see more of that. Or I'd like to understand something, like, what are the strengths and weaknesses of whatever's going on here? Because without skepticism, like you said, we're pretty much just like zombies and we just absorb all the information.
Yeah.
And we don't really have thought.
That's my sort of like probably number one like critical thinking tool that I try and use. I'm just like, what am I not seeing? What is the worst outcome from this possible situation? So if it's like something sort of relevant to us, it's like, you know, up your frequency in your training program or something like that. And just like look at the people talking about the Norwegian frequency project and stuff like that, or like you get a greater net surplus of MPS across the week or something like that of upping your frequency. And I'm just like, okay, cool, that really does sound good on paper. But then I'm just like, sit down before I make any decisions. I'm just like, what am I missing? And you don't always know. But if you at least try and go about that process, you're less likely to be duped and misled than if you go, oh, cool, that is the answer. Everything is a trade-off. That is fundamental for anyone to understand if you want to become good at decision making, that everything is a trade-off. Getting married to the love of your life is still a trade-off. Like nothing is perfect. There is no fairy tale. But
yeah, no, I agree. Like it does sound. That's why I said like I sound pessimistic because I sort of do sometimes.
Yeah.
But you know, like it is in a way. You just got to look at it like it's just grey areas. There's never.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think that's pessimism though. Like that's realism.
Yeah,
that's if reality is 0, then most people are probably sitting at a 4 or a 5, and I might be a -1. Like I might be slightly towards that negative side, but that's still closer to 0 and true reality than being 4 or 5 up, with your head up in the clouds.
100%. Like when I opened this place, moving on from the garage, I had 2 sort of camps
and props for that,
on either side. What's up?
And props for that, by the way. You've been
thank
for
you.
a long time, Mikey. So
thank you very much. It's just a bigger garage at the end of the day, but so we'll see how we go.
Helping people,
but that's it. That's what it really is about. Like this is about helping people. This is about getting a better message across for people. To just be a skeptic, and it's not. It is a little bit pessimistic, but like you said, it's more realistic than anything.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, this did remind me. Like I was like, all right, this is like I had to break down everything. I was like, these are my funds. This is whatever. Like this is what I'm gonna do, and this is the plan, and this is how I'm gonna get there. And I factored everything in and moved towards that path. Right. This is like a scientific method. In a sense.
Yeah.
I had 2 camps. I had one camp like, fuck that, man, don't do it. Like, they're the pessimists, actually.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just stay in the garage, man. Like, it's all right to have people working out in the street. I'm like, that is atrocious. Like, I'm just not like that. Like, I'm all about quality. It's just got to be quality. Look at this fucking mic. Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Like, I'm just a weirdo like that, It's just got to be good quality. And I learned that by spending money on shit, like this dumb laptop, which I have to, like, get rid of now.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to spend more money. You know what I mean? Just always invest. Just invest in better things. That's a bit of a tangent, but, invest in good education and research. There you go.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And then I had another camp, which I would have more so agreed with the other camp with the more negative crowd because they were at least more realistic than, who cares, man? Just go for it. Like, take out a freaking loan and buy all the best equipment and... like hire staff and do everything, like just go nuts. And I'm like,
dreams.
Okay, dreams, the dreamers, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all right to have dreams, but just make sure that you've factored everything in and your dreams are realistic. You know what I mean? Like don't be crazy.
Well, it's okay. Dreams, but just know that they are dreams. Like, and then there's dots you've got to connect well and truly before dreams become reality.
100%. Yes. Like it's, like looking at it now, like I'm happy I did it all by myself. Like I didn't, it would have been crazy to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
I had even people telling me to buy a better car, take out a loan for a car so that I looked more professional. And it was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I gotta take out a loan for a gym and a car? Like, that's incredible. And then pay the rent on top of that, pay staff. Like, that is dreams, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's dreams that stuff's possible, but it's not possible for a 23-year-old kid that's going to move from a garage who already moved from a small personal training studio that shut down, so I've already seen it happen, right? Move from a garage to a bigger garage and then do all that in one big shot. I think that, like, it's all about baby steps. And eventually, like, small steps and you'll get there.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. And it's a bit like science. Like, we don't have all the answers, but we're going to take all these really small steps, right, to get close to what we know as the answer.
Yeah.
And then... we'll probably have more questions.
Yeah, well, it's exactly like people trying all these extreme dietary interventions and just going from low carb to low fat to paleo to keto to whatever. And then it's just like, but if you just nudged what you did on a day-to-day basis slowly close to what you think it should be or like optimal or whatever, then it's just like if you've been trying to do quick fixes for 25 years, it's not a quick fix.
No, because... it's usually just like a rebounding all the time.
100%.
And it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah. And it's just like there really is something to just slow and steady incremental progress.
Yep, 100%, man. That's very true. I think I read once, or I was told once that you can only change behavior. I think I learned it at uni as well, actually. 3% at a time.
Yeah.
Something like that. And that's a weird thing, like, how do you quantify behavior? But I think it was just from, like, it's just I don't know if that's true, but it just goes to show you how tiny a behavior change can be. You know what I mean? And it has to be...
You don't need to take that for the exact 3% that it is. All you need to do is understand the concept of that, wow, like behavior is extremely difficult to change on a large scale, and you need to be slow with it. Like, that's the only thing that you need to take away from that.
Yeah. So, I'll move on to the next question. The evidence hierarchy allows us to generally see the scope and power of certain designs of study, right, as we sort of talked about. And but how important is it, like the hierarchy, because we sort of touched on it, you can just briefly like answer this one. Like, how important is understanding the hierarchy of evidence for personal trainers?
Yeah, like I could probably go both ways on this question, to be honest, and that may seem like an odd answer, but
no, because I think I'd agree.
I
think I know you're ready to say.
At one point, one viewpoint I would have is that it's extremely important for personal trainers to understand the hierarchy of evidence, because then they know where things fit in. But on the other viewpoint is I would be like, well, not like they almost just need the big takeaway points. And it's just like, there's no point unless, like, science and research is a specific language of its own. And there's no, like, I see too many well-intentioned personal trainers trying to get mixed up in science and research.
Yeah.
Almost like, just stay within your lane. Like, and then there's communicators like Eric Helms and Mike Israetel and Lyle McDonald, who then sort of bring across information. It's just like, cool, you guys, here is what the deal. Here is what the summary of evidence essentially says. Go off and play. Go off and help clients. Like, this is the the distilled down message. Yeah. Like in that regard, I almost think, man, like there's probably like 5 or 6 papers or like systematic reviews or meta-analysis that maybe like PT should read. And that's most of the stuff that like Alan Aragon and Brad Schoenfeld sort of put out. Like in that regard, like I almost think it's not critical for practitioners to concern themselves too much if they really are like a practical kind of practitioner. And there are plenty of people that are intermediates between the two. So yeah, I guess like I couldn't quite answer that question with any definitive answer, because
no, that was probably where I'd go with it. Because you don't want to get caught in that trap of like, because it's very easy to be influenced by your influences. Yeah. You know, and I was very much caught in that trap when I first started. I was like, I'm going to write blogs and site research. Fuck yeah, EndNote. Like, I know what's up. Right? And like, it is good because I did learn a lot doing that. But I'm not a scientist.
No.
You know? Like, I'm a practitioner and I use like the translation of evidence from Eric, Mike, Alan, all those guys to formulate my contentions, because I am nowhere near as intelligent as they are, like at deciphering and interpreting evidence. You know what I mean? When I was required to do it at university, I think, as I mentioned, like when I first was like year 11 and 12, I was doing like history and I was doing legal studies, and that stuff is all about like critical appraisal.
Yeah.
You know, so that helped me a lot. Yeah. But still, it's not like multiple, maybe even. Alan got surely it's a decade now over.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean, of that experience. So, like Mike Boyle says it, he's like, there's like chefs and there's cooks. And the chef like writes the recipes and cooks, and the cook follows the recipe. And I'm definitely like a cook. I'd say like a cook and a quarter. You know, like sometimes I do a couple of things where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm smart as fuck. And then, but most of the time I'm like, You know, I'm still a cook. You know what I mean? I think I'll be a cook for the next 5 years again.
Yeah, and that's,
You know,
there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the only time, or like the only thing that really gives like negative consequences more of a chance to succeed is when you are, like when you're not self-aware enough to just know where you fit within the puzzle. If you are like dead set on trying to be a chef when you're a cook, that's when things fuck up. Like it's just like there's nothing wrong with being anything really. It's just like just don't lie to yourself. Just play that role to the best of your ability.
yes, exactly right. And as you mentioned, stay within your lane, because I think that's probably that's probably like the moral of that. I feel like we've touched on heaps of this.
Yeah, great.
I thought so. All right, what do you value in your training at the moment, right? And how are you looking to achieve your results using principles of strength and conditioning, like with reference to science?
Yeah, so what I value probably the most is at the moment is that kind of like optimization efficiency trade-off. You know, like I might start at 5 a.m. in the morning, you know, might take clients till, you know, 10, 11 a.m. sort of a thing. Then I've got to train, you know, then I've got to go home, eat, you know, do day-to-day jobs. Like I might have to finish off an article or go to the bank or pick up some food. And then I've got to do all that before coming back in and working from, you know, say 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., something like that. So it's like there is a very small window of time where it's just like, like I wish I could just grow muscle and not have to train, or I wish I could not have to train. No, I don't even wish that actually. Like I love training.
Nah, I like training. I thought about that. You know,
But it's,
I ask people that, I'm like,
yeah.
if you just have like the rig of your dreams, but not have to train, and people are like, fuck yeah. I'm like, no way, man. Like, what?
It's too therapeutic in nature, I think. Like once you've done it for this long, it's just part of who you are. But yes, just like for me, I need a good general understanding of bang for buck. Like, you know, I can't spend 2 hours every day training because I've already been because I train where I work. Like, and at some point you need just that time away from your place of work. You need to unwind, and there's other things in life. Like I just can't.
Do you train elsewhere then as well? Just to
No, like to be honest, like I might zip up to like Derrimut like once every now and then, but for the most part, like I love being there and I love being at, you know, work, but just sometimes it's just too easy to get distracted. Like a client will come in or a friend will come in and you'll chat, and that, you know, the 4 sets of bench press turns into, you know, an hour and 10-minute chat because they've just had a kid or they've gone overseas and proposed to their girlfriend or something like that. And it's like, so you really, like, I guess probably the biggest thing for me within training at the moment is designing a program for myself that allows me to still progress and keep my goals, but just not, you know, I don't have to move heaven and earth just to achieve that sort of a thing.
Yeah, I am in the same boat. Like you know, there's so much that I just don't want to do anymore or can't really do. Like, you know, I've got an injured knee. I've got like weird fucking back issues and shit at 23. Like, it's not like an old man back and knee, Jesus Christ. But like, you know, like I'm looking at my barbells now. What's up?
I said they've got blue pills for if other stuff stopped working for you.
Yeah. Let's hope that fucking doesn't start working. Like, you know, and like I had a max squat of 147 and a half for 5. Had a max bench of 120 for 7, and then I think my deadlift, it was always estimated like 180 for 1. I'm pretty sure it was. I can't do that shit now. Fuck that. You know, I can't. I just don't have the energy to put into that, and that's so centrally taxing. And my nervous system is taxed from other real life stuff like work and you know, I have a small business to run, and I just have to come to terms with the fact that, you know, how friggin' strong do I really want to be? And you know what's real funny? Like, and I always tell it to people, like, this is probably the biggest I've been, and it's probably almost the weakest in certain lifts. Like, my deadlift and squat are nowhere near what they used to be.
Yeah,
but
it's not the weakest you've ever been. Like, it's like, I'm sure you were, but I know what you mean. Like, in comparison to your strength.
No, it's definitely not.
Side,
That's impossible. Yeah, it doesn't make, it does make sense because there's more volume. But, like, I'm definitely not as strong, like in squat and deadlift anyway, relative.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. Like, there's so many, and I know that that makes sense because, like, muscle isn't guaranteed strength. It's just potential strength. It's just like knowledge is potential power. Like, people will say that there's no correlation between muscle size and strength. And it's like, well, like...
Well, yeah. What do you want about?
It's just, like, yeah, some people can have a bigger Wilks score or a bigger total, like, with smaller relative muscle mass. But it's like, they may have, that jacked up nervous system that allows them to do that. If you want to be the best lifter you can be, there's not much hindrance that adding some more lean mass is going to do.
Yeah, like, and even like certain athletes are like, look, man, like, I don't really want to get any bigger. And I'm like, well, you might, like, you probably will. Like, in the off season, we're going to be doing a fair bit of volume. Like, it's just conventional sports science practice, and we sort of need to do that, like, with reference to just
work.
Methods of periodization. Yeah, work capacity and I'm like, you probably will get more muscly, and I'm like, I don't understand why you wouldn't want that. Even like my professor, he was like, I've only come across one person who wanted to lose muscle mass, and he's like, as you mentioned, the force potential generating capacity of muscle, like, it'd be silly for an athlete or anyone, because when you get older, like, sarcopenia is like something that you should be very concerned with. Like, you don't want to be a fragile old man who, like, breaks a hip walking.
Yeah.
So, like, that bone mineral density and like, almost like, it's going to sound real, like, bro-ish, but like body armor, like, of muscle, like, as if you wouldn't want to gain muscle. It just makes no sense to me. Like, it's metabolically advantageous. It builds self-efficacy and confidence in people. It's sexy as fuck. Yeah. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and of course we need to be aware of our own biases, and we are very pro-muscle, but and that's fine. Like, you can obviously have this discussion in, many different settings. If it is just, a discussion with your nan, it's like, well, yeah, you probably need muscle for the purpose of health or, general aesthetics or something like that. Your bloke wants to go down the beach, you need muscle for that. Or if you're speaking to, a beginner power lifter who's like, no, I just want to get strong. Well, it's like, yeah, but body composition is essentially the foundational component of any athletic degree, any athletic trait, sorry.
Yeah, essentially, like, obviously there's like, like you said, like that, there's that nervous system component as well. But I mean, when have you ever seen a very jacked athlete, not like someone like who's just a bodybuilder, but have you ever seen like a really muscular athlete not be athletic?
Yeah, exactly right. And like, that we may be just looking for confirmation bias there, but I think like if we look at, strength and conditioning coaches and practitioners in the field who have been extremely successful, so many of them say that strength is the king of, all other physical attributes. But then I personally would go one step further and say composition is, that's the foundation of strength. Like,
you could definitely argue that. So
anyway, like, if you're competing in a weight class sport, I think optimizing your body composition not to the point of like pure muscle mass to pure leanness trade-off, but there's probably a range where reducing some of that tissue that doesn't actually move weight or express force.
Well, that's power to weight ratio.
Yeah. And I think, like, personally, some of the, like, probably the most people that I see is, like, in my opinion, again, I'm just, I'm not saying I'm correct here, but I do just think powerlifters in particular could still benefit from prioritizing that body composition just a bit more. It's like, if you dropped a kilo of fat mass and, put on a kilo more of muscle, yeah, your total might go down initially, 10 or 15 kilos.
You got to think
that investment, exactly right. Invest in that quality. Exactly. That's that quality mic.
It's like saving for a house. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, well, get around the mic. But like, it's like saving for a house. Like, you're not going to have much money now because you're putting all your money away. But then when you buy a house, that's an investment. and now you have a freaking
and
house.
have more money
You know
at the end of the day. Like, it's just...
Yeah, it's just hopefully it's common sense. Like, common sense is never common sense.
No.
You know? But with reference to, like, what is king, I don't really think... I always tell people, like, you know, because I get asked this question, I'm like, adherence is fucking king. Like, just stick to it.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean?
deep,
but if I...
it's like, how deep do you want to dig? Like, there'll
Yeah.
always be a foundational
just
layer under whatever you think is king.
Yeah. Like, science is not... You know what? Is science the answer? Like, it's not really. It gives us, like you said, like, it gives us a very good path, you know? But along that path is multiple answers, and you need to... you need to look at the bigger picture, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like
Would you say
if
so?
you get given like an equation, you get given an equation that has, pluses and minuses and divisions and multiplication and stuff like that, then science is just like, it's the tools you use to work out what the answer is.
Yes.
It's just like, it's BODMAS or BOMDAS or, whatever it was that we learned in, year 10 maths. Like, it's just the way that we go about finding the answer. The right answer always existed and it was always there. It's just up to us to find it.
Exactly right. And like, we're never going to have the answer.
No.
We're never going to know. You know what I mean? Like, we'll get closer and closer to the truth. And as I mentioned before, the closer we get, the more questions we'll have. Before I went to uni, because I was sort of like, no, not before, like first year uni. After first year uni, I was like, I'm a fucking genius. Like, it was just so, I thought I was fucking so cool. Yeah. Like, but I was a flunk. I was a dickhead. Like, what's up?
You were cool, to be fair, though.
That was the problem. I thought I was too fucking cool. I never used to go to... you know what my first year was? Like, I would go to the gym. I would go get Subway with my mate. I was in the dirtiest fucking bulk, right? Like, it was just disgusting. Yeah. And then I'd be like, I should go to uni. And I'm like, nah, fuck that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then I got to exams and I was like, like, legit. Don't ask me how I passed. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to pretend like I'm some sort of like genius, because I'm definitely not, And then second year, like, I pulled my head out of my ass and I was like, what the fuck did I do that for? Like, I'm an idiot.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I'm glad you pulled your head out of your ass in second year. I took 5 years to do my 3-year degree. Like,
really?
Yeah, like, people don't...
I did not know that.
People don't comprehend, it's like moving down from small country town to the big smoke of Bundoora was like,
Bundoora?
Oh shit, like, up from under mum and dad's roof, like, I was having fun partying, like doing whatever, like living on res at uni sort of stuff. Like, I felt like, man, my transcript is horrible. But like, and as we were talking about before we started recording, was like, now I'm going back and I'm relearning like foundational biology, like trying to teach myself chemistry, eventually get to a point of where I can understand biochemistry and stuff like that. Like, those things are so important. And like, I don't mean to say this to big note, and I know that you experience a similar thing. Like, but people come up to me and they're like, you're so smart. And I'm just like, I'm not. Like, without a doubt, I am not smart.
Yeah, I even put a disclaimer, and I'm like, do not ask me anything that's really fucking complicated. and like, and people do, and I can answer it. And I'm like, fuck, I'm actually not that retarded. But like, if someone come up to me with like some serious, like, real in-depth nutritional chemical question, I'd be like, I don't know. Like, most of mine...
Even that's...
What was that?
Your ability to answer that, though, is not an indication of intelligence, though. Like, intelligence it's measured on so many different levels that, we all get this idea that, like, marks at uni or our ATAR score is like I got an ATAR below 60. Like, I got like 73. Well, we got like, there was this joke in the gym the other day that just like one of the like meatheads who comes into the gym, we all love him. Like, he's a great dude, but he's sort of known for being a meathead and he owns it as well. He's like just a plumber, and like, again, like, he just got a higher ATAR than me, and people like, we were just going doing this little like poll through the gym, and people were just like mind blown. They're just like, Boof got a higher ATAR than Lyndon. And it's like,
yeah,
I don't take any real surprise in that. Like, I tried really hard in year 12. Like, I did.
So did I. I tried my ass off.
It's just like,
You know,
it's not just like knowledge just isn't limited to that
nah,
answer
you're
on a
right.
test. It's just like I would much rather like now understand things on a conceptual level and get worse marks on tests. Like it's just
100%. That's a very good way to put it. You know, like I had the best. This is like almost like when they told me the teachers, I was like, motherfuckers. Like, you know, I had the best mark in relative to where they thought I was going to be. So they thought I would. Yeah.
wow.
They were like, and I love doing that shit. I'm like, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, and like, I don't know where they would have thought I was going to be because I only got a 73. Like 73 is like not that much. Like you get these brains, like I got 89.999. You get like the real psychos that get like 99. I'm like, fuck. But props to them, you know what I mean? Like legends. But, you know, I don't know. They must have thought I was going to get like a friggin' 30. Like, I was like, what the fuck? You know?
They were like, damn.
They were actually like, I remember English teacher coming up and going, you nailed that. That was so good. I'm like, I got a 73. And she's like, you know, we had no hope. And I was like, what the fuck? No hope? Like, you know?
They had your graduate certificate. They're playing like paper bin basketball in the staff room.
Yeah. And then my grade comes through and they're like, what?
Yeah.
You know, like yeah. So like, I guess I just worked hard like you know, I tried my ass off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like it doesn't come easy, and it comes easier to some people. And I think one of my favorite quotes is like, yeah, I don't think you should ever really say anyone's smart. And I still say people are smart, but it's just like one of my favorite quotes, and I can't remember exactly what it is. And I'll paraphrase this, and it's essentially like, if you want to make an intelligent man look dumb, get him out of his area of expertise.
Yeah, it's just like a niche
It's
thing.
just like if I walk in like seriously, like thank God that my housemate is good at pretty much all the things that I'm not. He's like one of those like really he hates being called pragmatic, but like, you know, he can go to the bank, he can talk about taxes, he can just like
that's fucking good as that's what
like
you need.
Organize tradies to come to our house to do stuff, and it's just like I'm this like little dweeb that not hates talking, but I'm more introverted. I don't like talking or calling people on the phone to organize something, or I don't understand money or taxes or investment or loans or anything
Don't open a gym.
Yeah, like, and I won't. I know that.
Yeah.
That's why I think my job, like my role at the job I've got now, is so fantastic because, you know, Jacob does his things and allows me to do mine, and Sam does his things, and I can just stay within my niche. And that's essentially how sort of like people succeed, is you just find something that's yours and make it your own and be as good as you can at it. Like, don't try and be anyone else. Don't try and be a jack of all trades. Like, something we're trying to do at JPS is like have a complete team of like specialists, essentially. Like,
yes, that's really good.
That, you know, let everyone have something that's completely theirs, and they are the man at that thing.
That's what I've got to do now. You know, it's a stage I'm at. Like, I've done it. It's open. You know, thank fuck it's open.
Yeah, and you've done so well to this point.
And now, like, it's just about getting the team ready to go. You know, I'm not
Which you will, though. Like, people are so put off by, like, fuck, like, I'd hate to be where Mikey is. Like, he's got, you know, years of hard work ahead of him. And it's like, yeah, once he's through those years of hard work, it's just like nothing will be able to take that away from him. Like,
yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
people are so scared of a little bit of hard work, and I shouldn't.
Everything's hard. Like, and you know, we've gone way off track, but it doesn't matter. Like, it sort of is in reference to the scientific method, because there's so many like different variables you'd have to consider. You know what I mean? Like, with reference to exercise, like, people, like, everyone's like, or with reference to fat loss, actually, because I'm like, all right, look, my favorite sort of diet intervention is like the food diary. It is. Like, you know, we got your macros and stuff. I can adjust on the fly. You didn't lose weight this week. Maybe wait another week, and then we can adjust. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so objective, and I can go from that. But that's really hard. It requires a lot of effort and attention from people. Initially, anyway. Then it becomes like habitual.
Yeah.
And people are this sucks. Like, this is so weird and obsessive and I hate it. And I'm like, yeah, well, we'll try to find another intervention. But I usually disclaimer, I'm like, this is probably like, I don't want to say the best, but it's one of the most effective ways to go about it. It's the best for me because I can understand what the client's eating, how much they're eating. Like, this is, again, like a scientific method. It's like N=1 for this person. You know what I mean? What they, I understand what they don't enjoy eating because they don't put it down. You know what I mean? I understand what they did on the weekend and how that affects their caloric and intake overall and their average intake overall. Sometimes I don't record it and then I'm in like big trouble and I'm like, you should have recorded like the 15 beers you had because now I know, So yeah, and the point is of this is like, it will be hard. It's going to be hard. Exercise is hard. Like, that's the point. It's a stimulus to disrupt homeostasis to facilitate adaptation. Yeah. That's what it is. If it's easy and you come in and do some putt-putt circuit and just piss off, like, it's like, what the fuck did you do? Like, was that even hard?
Yeah, but it's like, I did 3 sets of 10. Like,
you did 3 sets of shit.
You're exactly right. It's like,
yeah.
And the thing is, like, we need to be aware of our own biases, and like there are certain avenues of life where I'm probably making those same fundamental mistakes and not putting in that hard work. It's like we've kind of pushed through that threshold of hard work, and we know how to work hard now within say like business for you or like, fitness and diet and that sort of thing. But it's like, like I know when it comes to like trying to learn the guitar or something like that, I'd be like, I practice once every 3 weeks and like, why the fuck aren't I good?
Same, like, that's fucked. But I'll train for like 20 years and I'll be like, why am I not big yet? This is fucked. Like, I remember like trying to learn the guitar, like, I'm only persistent at things like I really enjoy. Like, for some reason I just gravitated towards it. I've always exercised. Like, didn't you play footy and stuff?
Yeah, without a doubt. Footy, basketball, swam, tennis. Like, I love being physically active. So that's something we need to be aware of when people come to us. Yeah. And good on people who come to us seriously when physical activity doesn't come as naturally to them.
Exactly right. Because you know what my next question was? How do you like control your biases? So we've just smashed this question. There you go.
Self-awareness. You just got. But seriously though, like I can understand why people think I'm extremely pessimistic is because I can criticize everything. Like, but that's just because
I always do.
I am like obsessed with getting better. Like, I don't think it really shines through as much as people quite understand. But like, I pretty much just like lay in bed and I'm just like, what the fuck did I do wrong today? Like, and just go through. It's like, people say that's probably unhealthy, but it's like, that's the only way that I can refine things over time. And I pick up traits or habits in people that I don't think is desirable. I'm just like, man, I know I don't want to be like this. I don't want to do that. That's really unhealthy for them. I'm not going to make that mistake. And yes, it's just like framing everything in a negative way, but all for the purpose of betterment.
It's like critical appraisal of yourself, and that's essentially what research is, like critically appraising the research, like figuring out what went wrong and then doing more research and coming up with more questions. And then closer and closer, you'll get to this perceived answer. Well, you probably won't, but like you'll have more evidence anyway. You know what I mean? But that's what happened to me. Like, I was like, I don't know, like I went into the gym one day, like the garage gym, and I was like, fuck this. Like, this is stagnant. I'm in the same spot. You know what I mean? I don't know what came over me, but I was like, I'm going to lease a factory. Like, I don't know how that happened. I can't explain it. It's like I'm just obsessed. Like, I have to get better all the time. I got to do something more. You know what I mean? Like, this is essentially like doing more, We're like brainstorming here. Some good shit. I'm like more motivated to kick ass now. And I hope that people who listen to this will be more motivated to be like, just motivated to be like, fuck yeah, lift some heavy shit, science, eat fucking protein.
Like, I really do think, well, like it's on, like we were talking again before we started recording, is just like the state of the industry. And, so like I heard this quote from Jamie Smith, who like does like Melbourne strength culture the other day. He said, and like a quote that, and he then referred it to as a quote that he heard from JP at the Strength Fortress, like obviously JP, and the quote that they both had said prominently is, a rising tide floats all ships. And I was like, well, yeah, like of course it does. And I think
that's some intelligent shit.
That's a fantastic quote. And I think like one of, this is something I haven't really said to too many people, but like I would love for it's probably gonna take decades, but like I don't know if it's an outlandish goal or not, but like for families to essentially have like a family PT. It's just like growing up, like your family had a doctor or a vet or an accountant or a dentist and those sorts of things. Like we have these certain healthcare practitioners that we go to when we want something, but it's just like, because the state of the industry is, personal trainers they don't have that good reputation, but if we can slowly become, or like the good.
It's going that way though, man. Like look how many educated dudes are coming out. Like it's what an interesting time for personal training. I've never seen it like this before in my life, man. Like when I first got into it, I was like, holy shit, like, because I was into like the sciencey stuff, and I'm like, wow, like some of these methods and stuff are just.
Alrighty. It's like that's why you're a practitioner, Mikey. It's like, and
yeah.
As you said, there's plenty of educated dudes coming into the industry, but it's not enough, and that's the.
No, I don't reckon it is. It's got to be like an educated dude in every friggin' corner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like maybe like one or two educated dudes in the suburb, which is actually really good. Maybe not even actually. It's maybe like one. It's probably like one. Like in general, on average. You know what I mean? I can't just say like Mornington, or I can't just say like Airport West. Like I don't know. You know what I mean? But imagine if it was but then like for every one educated dude, there's like 5 like. Not saying this is bad, but it's like get them sweating boot camp type 45-minute friggin' circuits and like kicking people's asses and not understanding like principles or methods. You know what I mean? Hence going back to like the scientific practice of just that, like moral of the story, because I'm going to have to wrap this up. But like it is just about having like a method and a system. That's pretty much it.
Like, I think that's why people need to understand the role of a coach. Like when people... Like when they go to a coach and they're like, why can't you write me the perfect program? Or why didn't the first thing that we tried work? And it's like, well, a coach is just someone who's who's experienced more, knows more, and they can just help you find that right path quicker.
Exactly right.
Go bounce.
Yeah, I got to get out of here. All right. I will, you know what? That was awesome, man. We're talking for like an hour and 20. What a podcast.
That's, as I said, the Titanic of fitness podcasts. It just had no general plot, or just, it bounced around like this and we rambled, and we'd probably get like below 3 on IMDb. But it's like, yeah, we got it out there.
Nah, come on, man. Yeah, maybe not. Probably get like a 20% in Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, well.
With those critics, man, with that skeptical outlook on life, they're harsh.
They are harsh. They are. Fans are harsher. But
that was seriously fun, though. I thank you very much for having me on. I'm extremely appreciative for the opportunity.
No, dude, thank you for coming on. I'm appreciative of the opportunity.
It's all good.
To speak to Hot and Dondra's.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. I got it. All right, man. Thank you very much. Speak to you next time. See ya.